This video will teach you how to create a simple first-person controller in Unity.
Create a player object. And then parent a camera to the player and position it at head level. Create and add a player script to the player object. Open up and edit the script. These are the variables you will need for this script.
Serialize field is used to make the variables appear in the inspector and edit and assign them directly from there.
The rigid body variable is used to access the player's velocity. We will need to add a rigid body component to the player after this and assign it as a reference in the inspector.
Irritation and is moving will be used later in the script. Make sure is moving is public as it will be used in another script.
This line of code will make the mouse cursor invisible.
Hi, I'm Saul Goodman. Did you know that you have rights? The Constitution says you do, and so do.
This method will be called every frame and will update the player's horizontal rotation. This will add your horizontal mouse movement to the irritation variable. This sets your irritation to the irritation variable. This method will be called every frame and will be used to move the player. This vector will represent the player's movement input. Don't forget to add .normalize. This if statement will set is moving to true if you are pressing was, false if not. This vector will represent the actual movement direction based on where you are facing and what you are pressing. Finally, we set the velocity to the move vector. It will also lerp to full speed instead of instantly going to full speed. Then we have the methods be called every frame by having them in the update method. Now let's test it out in play mode. You're goddamn right. Add a rigid body component to the player object. Freeze X and Z rotation. Click and drag the rigid body component to the variable to have it set as the reference. Set the other variables to whatever value you want. You should be able to move as well as rotate the camera left and right. Create and add a script to the camera object. Open up and edit the script. This variable is used to reference the player script we made earlier. Rotation is used in the same way as before but on a different X. Starting Y and starting X are used for the headbutt method. Time since moving is also used for the headbutt method. These next lines will initialize starting Y and X variables. This method is used for vertical camera rotation. This works the same way as before, but for the vertical X inset. Go back to the player script and change mouse sensitivity from private to public. Clamp is used to keep the value between a certain range. This works the same except use local Euler angles instead. This method will make the camera bob up and down as well as left and right while you are moving. These sine waves are used to create the bobbing motion.
You can change values that are multiplied to the sine waves however you want these values. Just work best for me. What they are doing is changing the magnitude and speed of the sine wave.
Here we are returning the vector that lurks around the sine waves we created. Here we are returning the vector that lurks back to the starting values when we are not moving. Finally, we call the methods in the update function so they run every frame. For the head bob method, set the camera's local position to it. Then assign the player script to the variable in inspector. You should be able to look up and down, and there should be a bobbing motion when moving.
Hi, I'm Saul Goodman. Did you know you have rights? The Constitution says you do. So, I believe it's important. Every man, woman, and child is innocent.